I've got in here this morning after seeing a few fish showing out here, and they were showing from where we are long. Out in front we've got, really the only thing that's in front of us is we've got an island, and they've obviously been spending a lot of time around there, and I've been told they spend a lot of time around there anyway. So the island was definitely a good place to start off and get a rod out to. That's where I actually had the bite from as well. But out to the left gets a bit shallower, and the sun's been beating on it all day as well, and we've started to see a few more fish down here to the left as well now. So that was an excuse to bring a chod in and put one out to the left straight to where the fish are showing as well. From leading around, I've found most of it is covered in not a massive amount of weed, but there is weed more or less everywhere. Like, you can find other areas, but most of the casts, most of the time you're bringing a rod back, it has got weed on it. So ideally I'll fish a multi-rig on that, or a chod on that, like a pop-up, like over the top of it, just so to make sure we're presented properly. I think probably you needed to have a pop-up out on the area that the fish were showing this morning. I don't think you'd have got away with bottom baits on there. I think the weed's a little bit too thick really. Or you might have got lucky and got a lucky drop, but there's so much of it out there spread around that you can't guarantee that you're going to be fishing properly. So you get a bit of a safety net by fishing a choddy. I've always fished my chods really short and aggressive, like an aggressive angle on the curve. They're quite clawed over. I fish them quite heavy as well with the putty. They're not massively like slow sinking, so they will, where they'll settle, I like to think they'll stay. I think if you don't have enough putty on there and they're really slow sinking, they can waft around a little bit when they're out there, get pulled around. So I do like them to be just the heavier side of slow sinking really. I like a nice big D as well. I have quite a large D for the rig ring and the hook with the hook bait. He's a medium rig ring as well, so there's quite a lot of movement. I like to keep things moving. I tie them with the chods with a loop as well at the swivel end, so again more movement. So there's movement in the rig, but it's anchored down by the putty. I use a similar hook pattern for my bottom bait rigs and my chod rigs. The only difference is that there's an outturned eye for the choddy, both size 6, good sharp hooks. For my bottom bait rigs, I've always used at least a 3.5 ounce. I like quite a heavy lead because I use quite a short rig as well, and I think that works great with a heavier lead. With a choddy, I always used to use as light a lead as I could get away with, because I was always worried about it bouncing the hook out, the weight of the lead bouncing the hook out when I was playing a fish. But now we've got the heli safe, so I use a heavy lead all the time with my chod rigs. Always use a 3 at least. Like, there's just no reason why you can get away with them now. There's no reason not to. If I had to choose from one rig to use for the rest of my life out of a pop-up or a bottom bait, it'd definitely be a pop-up rig, and I'd definitely use a choddy. You could do with a choddy everything that you could do with, you could fish a choddy on everywhere that you could fish a bottom bait, but you can't fish a bottom bait everywhere that you can fish a choddy. A pop-up rig definitely suits moving around and being mobile and being able to get rods out as soon as you've seen fish, not having to worry about being tied to baited areas or anything. You can just bring them straight in, zip round, rods straight back out, fresh hook baits. Like, it's really quick and clinical way to fish really. I'd use a choddy if the weed was anything above just like really low lying. If it was really sparse, thin weed, then I'd be happy to use a multi-rig. I'd use a leg clip, but if there's anything more than just a little scattering or some low lying, then I'd go for a chod. If I'm fishing to a small spot with a leg clip on, then the baiting will follow as a tighter. I'll bait tightly to that area, so I'm fishing all the bait and the leg clip on. I could be more precise, like, whereas with a choddy, it's a lot more free. Like, I'm fishing to wider areas over thicker weed, and the baiting will be more spread out as a result of that. I'll use a chod as often as I can. That'd be like my starting point, and then if it doesn't fit the chod criteria, as it were, then I'll change to a leg clip. So I'll use a choddy in lots of different situations. I fish my chods long running, so I make sure the beads are like at least sort of 4 foot, 5 foot apart. I set the bottom bead a good foot above the lead as well, so there's plenty of play for the rig to settle above anything that is on the bottom. That's the idea of the rig sort of thing. So I like to make sure that I'm not pulling the beads together and limiting how much movement and stuff is in the setup, because it kind of defeats the object of it. I like it to have a nice bit of run. Yeah, fishing the chod has definitely caught me extra fish by being able to just get straight onto showing fish and not have to find a spot or be concerned that I'm not fishing properly. That's the main thing, is being able to feel confident that you are fishing properly, as opposed to if I found fish and then put 3 bottom bait rigs out, you don't you feel the lead down, but you don't know exactly what you're fishing over. It could all be presented horribly, and within an hour you're going to be wanting to bring them in, redo things, disturb them and possibly spook the fish off. Whereas if you found them, turned up at a lake, seen the fish, chods out to them, you know you're fishing. You can sit back for the morning. Do you know what I mean? You haven't got to. You can still obviously move it around, but you know that you are fishing well.